Well, how's it going? I'm back again with another episode of Belcast. Yes, I know it's been probably about a month since my last episode, and I apologise for that. I think I was just clinging on to the Christmas period and the time I had off a bit longer than I should have, so trying to get back into the swing of things for 2019 and start things as I mean to go on. So it's been an interesting few weeks since the last episode of the podcast. Again, there's been more frustrating politics, and as somebody who's very interested in politics, and it's just somebody who lives in Northern Ireland and wants to see this place thrive, it's been very, very frustrating. But I'll get on to that later. I'll start off with something that I've seen in the news that's pretty good about Belfast and good news for Belfast. So anybody who lives and works in Belfast will know the it's like a big grand building on Bedford Street across from the Ulster Hall, that's basically been sitting idle, and there's been no movement or no businesses in there from what I can remember. I've always walked past and thought, oh, it'd be great if that was cleaned up a bit and somebody actually moved in there, but it turns out that there's somebody is moving in there, and it's Deloitte. Deloitte are actually going to pump £85 million into that building to clean it up a bit, and I think that's going to then be their new headquarters. So it's great to see that, and it's great to see an old building being restored and hopefully kept as much as possible like the original design. There's been some controversy over the past few weeks about Tribeca. I think that's the Tribeca or Tribeca, I don't know. Anyway, it's been negative feedback on that. The redevelopment of, I think it's around North Street in the Cathedral Quarter. A lot of old buildings are going to get knocked down, and I think it's already begun. And there's been, a lot of people like Save Cathedral Quarter have been up in arms against that because they're destroying, old buildings that, yes, may not be used or may fell into a bit of disrepair, but, knocking them down completely is losing a bit of the character of Belfast. So I really hope that this move from Deloitte is more of a restoration job. And it'd be great to see just that building cleaned up a bit, because it's 2 minutes away from Belfast City Hall, and with tourists and everything coming, and it's literally a minute walk across the street from the Grand Hotel. It doesn't really give the best vibe when a building that big and grand in the centre of Belfast is just sitting there falling into ruin. So it'd be great to see that cleaned up a bit. And just reading about it as well, Deloitte were saying that by 2022 they're planning to have over 1,000 employees in Belfast, which is absolutely huge, and I think that's their biggest office outside of London. So that's some good news to start off with, and it's great to see more private companies set up in Northern Ireland. And a lot of people have contention with private companies, and a lot of people, as the Northern Ireland has such a big public sector, kind of have like an affinity and nearly, I'd say, a fear of private companies. But I say we should be welcoming private companies into the country. We can't rely on a huge public sector to supply jobs for people. And I think the more private companies that we bring into Northern Ireland, the more variety of opportunities there'll be for young people. I work for a private financial technology company, and the opportunities I have been great, and the opportunities they give for young people in Northern Ireland to travel or basically just see the world is fantastic. So welcome that news from Deloitte. Just to reiterate, I really hope they keep that building as much as they can the way it is. Just clean it up a bit, because I think during the Troubles a lot of historic buildings were destroyed by loyalist and Republican paramilitary bombs, and you see some of the buildings around City Hall, and you kind of like forget about how nice they are. You don't really look up a lot in Belfast, but I've started working now on Adelaide Street, and even walking to and from work, there's some really nice buildings around Linen Hall, and even the building I work in, I think used to be an old linen warehouse or linen manufacturing building. So yeah, it's kind of a huge part of Belfast's history. I think shipbuilding and linen craft was, Belfast was renowned for that. So it'd be great I think we've kind of kept the shipbuilding side of things, with the Titanic quarter and obviously the huge Titanic museum. They're the kind of things that are there and will always be there. But I think restoring buildings like this linen warehouse and just keeping old buildings is great if we can. Otherwise, we'll be creating more buildings like the horrible Boots building on Royal Avenue, which is, I think that may have been blown up in the Troubles, and which understandably you can see why they built such a rigid and let's just say not the best designed building. If you're in a period where all their buildings are getting blown up left, right, and centre, so let's hope we can just maintain classical buildings and just add a bit more character to Belfast and not make everything all artsy and modern. So some unfortunate news that happened last night, which I would prefer not to be talking about, but the nature of things in Northern Ireland and how things are panning out, and throwbacks to the past always seem to come up. There was a bombing last night in Derry, outside of the courts up there, and it's just so worrying seeing. I think it was originally tweeted that it was a bomb scare, and I think I've talked about this before, but people in Northern Ireland, or maybe it's just me, I'm a bit more desensitized to that sort of violence. You'd be going into town to be a bomb scare in one street, and you just take the other street to get by. I think just because of our history, everybody's a bit more desensitized to violence. But yeah, I seen it on Twitter last night. It was like a bomb scare in Derry, and you kind of think nothing of it, which is terrible, because we should be absolutely alarmed and triggered by that. Could you imagine in London tomorrow if there was a bomb scare? It'd be absolutely all over the news over there. But yeah, it turned out that it was actually a viable bomb, and it was I think there was a 15 or 20 minute warning given to the police, which is ridiculous. That's not enough time to do anything. And the car blew up outside of the courts. Thankfully nobody was injured, which is the main thing, but it's just worrying that there's still idiots out there who are in this fantasy world where they think that blowing up cars outside of courts, the court being seen as like an arm of the British government, they just think that blowing up a car is going to then force the UK into, bringing in a border poll tomorrow, or, just saying, oh no lads, there's been a car bomb, we're going to have to just pull out of Northern Ireland completely. We had 30 years of nonsense violence, and thousands of people lost their lives for absolutely nothing, basically. Yet there's still people who think this is the way forward and the way of progressing things in Northern Ireland. The PSNI released 4 videos just of CCTV footage before the bomb went off, and I think there was a group of young people who were walking past the bomb about 10 minutes before it went off. And what happens if the bomb had went off early? I think it was a new group called the New IRA, one of the many IRAs there's been. I think there's been probably about 1,000 different name diaries by now, but these idiots are the ones that are claiming responsibility for the bomb. But yeah, it's just frightening, to be honest. More so that, like I said, there's people who still think this is the way forward and this is the way that their romanticised United Ireland's going to be achieved. You know, this is exactly the thing that I'd say it would galvanise opponents on both sides of United Ireland, and it's bad that is the case because things like this kind of take away from the measured discussions around having a United Ireland, because things like this will always antagonise and scare, loyalist communities, because they'll think, oh, this is, that side's willing to go this far to do this. What else are they going to do? And, it's just a sad throwback to darker times. And, I hope that really was a one-off occurrence. But, what scares me as well is that most likely the people who did this were young people as well. People maybe my age or younger, or even 10 years older. This isn't people from the past doing this. This is young people thinking this is the way forward. This is people with the whole context of the past 40 years of people being killed and, innocent people losing their lives or becoming seriously injured because of the acts of idiots. Yet these people are still continuing to go about this as a way of promoting their ideologies, and it's frightening as well. Seen a few things on Twitter, and I really had to bite my tongue, because there's some people saying, militarily this is the worst way of going about a United Ireland, and things like that just makes me want to put my head through a wall, because militarily nothing should be done to progress United Ireland. This should be something that's done through peaceful means, and the proponents of United Ireland should be speaking to people and promoting a United Ireland for all. And I discussed this with Cleona, and I think I was talking to Paul about this as well. Like, there needs to be proper discussions around things like that, and idiots that think they're going to blow up every court or every police station or basically every sign of British, occupation, quote unquote. If they think that's the way they're going to get their United Ireland, it's very, very worrying, because 30 years of that proved that that's not how things are going to happen. It was through peaceful means that we're here today, and people aren't dying left, right and centre. But yeah, there was a couple of people arrested this morning, so we'll see how that pans out. But I really hope this isn't the start of more to come kind of thing. So yeah, I just can't remember the last time we had a car bomb like that. I know there was a PSNI officer killed in a car bomb probably about 6 or 7 years ago, so worrying times indeed. My final point on the whole United Ireland topic, which I could probably talk about forever, and I will refrain, but I also seen I think it's Think32 Twitter account, which is this movement for discussing and promoting the United Ireland, but they strangely were criticising Simon Coveney from the Irish government because he used the term Northern Ireland. And in one of their tweets they said that the term, we should be eradicating the term Northern Ireland because it's partitionist or something along